Hello, everyone. Welcome to days 16 and 17 of the Jim Tang 30-day challenge. I missed another check-in, which makes me sad, but I almost missed a check-in anyways because I was out for a weekend trip. So I'm just going to recap what happened yesterday and today to make up because I feel like making two separate check-ins and then it's just not me on that day is disingenuous. Yesterday was a really bad burnout day, and frankly, with my research and also with my teaching, I've been letting my environment drag me down, which is not something I feel like I've talked about yet, but I have talked about curating environment to make yourself be surrounded by people who push you to be more. But that doesn't apply very well for things like work and also things that you have to do, like maybe your sports teams or maybe what colleges you get into. But I can say confidently, even if you can't control your environment, you can control you. And this is ties into the things that I talked about in accountability, where it's if you are under certain circumstances, they're kind of out of your control, and even if there's something which is out of your control and it falls onto your shoulders, it's still your fault. That's something that I'm going to talk about soon, about leadership, where you represent a body of people and you are representative of those people. Even if those people do something which you didn't tell them to do, you are still responsible for their actions partly because it reflects on you as an individual. That's why interviews are behavioral and so stringent, and why people are so particular about social media, and when things exist forever, why I hide behind an alias so I can talk more genuinely about things like my job, because it doesn't immediately affect me or my life, but it's still worth talking about and discussing because I personally have signed a lot of legal agreements that are about not disclosing information, especially about kids or your company, like non-competition agreements. You can't just take what you're currently learning, at least for me, at my research or about curriculum for kids, coding, all that good stuff. So there's a lot of gatekeeping deliberately on information, and that is so people don't just steal your idea, right? Patents exist so people can uniquely reap the rewards of their own ingenuity and their best practices and what they learn. But I'm a big advocate for information being readily available. I give out information very readily about the future and college and how to progress through life because I think that we should be building off of the backbone of humanity. But that doesn't necessarily work in a capitalist economy. So the bottom line for me is you do what you can and you control what you can. And I honestly should be taking my own advice to heart better because I've been letting my own pettiness about my group members not contributing in certain ways, which little insider info got me in trouble for writing stuff that was machine generated when I deliberately told my teammates to look over it to make sure that they were actually okay with it, and then told them to do feedback because they didn't give me feedback, and then they gave me feedback and it was very open-ended, and then I revised it for them by hand and then said, hey, let's go work on this again and let's actually fix these areas. Like, sure. And they gave me no problem giving me 1 day turnarounds to revise the entire proposal. But when I asked them to revise literally 2 sections and told them what to do bar by bar, and the only reason I wasn't doing it is because I was on my phone on a vacation that I already communicated I was going to go on and already did a bunch of work for them in advance, they still didn't do it. And then the PIs, they got mad at us. So that's my crash out, like actual crash out. But that happened all very recently. And recently, I mean yesterday. Talking about yesterday and today. And that is a prime example of things being outside of my control, or partially within my control. What was outside of my control is that my teammates didn't do their work. And I still reap the consequences of it because I, quote unquote, wrote the entire paper and I'm listed as a top writer of it because I did it all myself, even if it was AI assisted. So, yeah, there's stuff to unpack there. And the other part of that is my teaching environment. I, not to be, that teacher, but I don't like my kids. I make deliberate rules and I enforce them every single day. I make them very clear, and they still look at me like I'm crazy when I say it's unfair that I give them like 17 different warnings, that I write it on the board, and that they don't listen and follow the things on the board. And when we don't do the project, they're like, when are we going to start? You're talking. And I gave you guys 1 day where I said I was going to not. I'm going to tell you to be quiet when you walk in, and every other day I'm just going to point at the message on the board that says the more time that we talk, the less time that we're going to actually work on things. Because in practice, I found the best way to actually discipline kids, because I found this when transitioning from a track captain to a coach, is that you can't yell at children. It's not your job to discipline them. Like, you can't. And once kids figure that out, they do whatever they want. But once they realize that you're in the way of them, what and between them and what they want to do, like maybe work out, or that is learn something, or even work on something, then they're going to start enforcing that the other people are in line. And it honestly comes better if it is from peer to peer than it is from you telling them what to do. People don't like being told what to do, but people are okay with being told what to do if it's for a reason, right? If you have a boss that knows better than you, or if you have a manager and you don't really want to think, you just want to act, or if you are a kid who wants to learn something and they don't know what to learn or where to even start, right? They are missing so much crucial information because they've not gotten the way through schooling, or people have purposely dumbed things down in order for them to be able to understand it, and there's gaps in their understanding, and they don't know how to even ask a question about something that they don't know, which is the whole point of teaching. And once they realize that and they want to get class moving, they'll keep each other in line. But man, oh man, has it been testing my patience, which is very bad to say as an educator, frankly, to say that you are deliberately giving up control of your classroom, and to also say that you don't like the kids that you have. But I didn't choose these kids, and they chose to be a part of this program. And one of the big things that helps me move along in my days as an educator is that I deliberately choose education jobs that don't actually require me to teach, which seems counterintuitive, but the kids and the parents need to recognize that their kid getting the education is a privilege because they're paying for it. And you might feel if you pay for something, you're entitled to certain things, but if your kids do not behave in a way that is conducive to that entitlement, then we reserve the right to not educate them. It's like if you order your food and you're like a big bum and people don't like you, then they reserve the right to just not serve you your food and they'll refund you. It's basically that. We'll refund them, but we reserve the right to not educate their kids for the thing that they paid for or spent their time on at that moment. And that's business. So that's my crash out. Control your environment. Don't let your environment control you as much as you can, right? And I need to start taking my own advice, frankly. Okay. I hope to get more back on track with this challenge. I've been a little bit behind because of the burnout, and that's an excuse. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't be on track with this challenge, but it is also my lowest priority. Okay. See you guys soon. Bye bye. Stay tuned.